daughter's boyfriend, well, they both work for the same company, and they're involved in setting up huge big events, and this. They do all the graphics and all the connection. They do work all over the world, and sitting now, they can't do anything, and suddenly they've come up with this incredible way of actually now doing video conferencing and calling using all this technology, and it's taken them a week to come up with a concept, and now they're putting it into sort of a video that they can send out as a demo for people to see. And now people like Stanlib and Liberty and BMW are saying, wow, this is amazing. Suddenly we can have conference calls and do Zoom calls in a whole different light, so they can change the scenery. You can either do a presentation, or you can be actually look like you're sitting on the beach doing the discussion. So it's quite remarkable.
Great. Okay. Morning, Herman. Morning, Guy. Morning, Trevor. Morning, Cello. Morning, Gavin. Welcome on board. I think we're sort of at 8 o'clock, so just gone. Jeffrey. Who's Jeffrey? Morning, Jeffrey. Morning, Cecile. So yeah, people are coming in. So yeah, if everyone can switch their videos on for a brief moment at least, unless you're really shy, but we'd love to see your faces so we know who we're talking to just for the moment, and then we'll hand over to Lee to kick things off. Jeffrey, are you with us? Cecile? Okay. All right. I think Lee, let's kick off, and we can try and get some videos up as we go along. So let's get the morning going.
Morning, everyone. Before we get started, just wanted to touch base, just to connect with everybody. Is there anything sort of top of mind that you are sort of burning to share, or reflections from yesterday? I actually wrote a blog last night on our discussions around help, and I thought there were some really, really good comments and some questions that came up, and I'll send that out as a follow-up from this session, so you can just see some of my reflections. And the reason I do that is just to hopefully to keep prompting you to mull over some of the things that we're talking about, because I do think that they're helpful. So I just wanted to, not everybody has to say anything, but if there is anything, as I say, top of mind, please let us know.
Well, just a comment. I think we had a real live example at the end of the talk yesterday, where I extended my help to Jasper, and he basically told me to footsack. I mean, there he was. There was just trying to help the guy, you know. And I thought I was helping him, but he didn't need any help.
Yeah, Ian, when you offer people razor blades, you know, I'm not too sure what the intention is. You know, it could be something else other than this. So yeah, okay, Lee. It looks like that was it. So let's get back on to you.
Okay, so the session, the last couple of over the last couple of days has really prompted me to look at what does it mean to listen. And I think one of the things that I found really fascinating just about this new technology is that it's forcing us to listen. Because you only have literally this window where you can speak. There's a greater pause and less interruption, because you can't judge when you're going to jump in. And so that means that people have more time to talk, and people are paying more attention and listening. And I'm finding that really fascinating as a consequence of video conferencing. So it just seems like a good thing to say, well, what does it mean to listen? And I just wanted to start with this slide, because this is about listening to yourself, because there are many, many dimensions to listening. And so what are your feelings about this sense of what does it mean to listen to yourself, listen to your heart, yeah, maybe just some comments around what this is about.
Great, thanks, Lee. If anyone would like to pick up on that, or I can just run through the list as per normal. But I see Ian is off the starting blocks this morning quickly, so let's get Ian to going and see what he has to say.
Yeah, actually, I was involved with Lee some time ago in the early stages of the negotiation program that Lee was also involved in, and that was one of the aspects, of course, in the whole process was that discipline of listening before you actually responded. And then on the same vein, from an internal point of view, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, I've reflected on a particular aspect of business that I'm involved in, and I kind of had to sit down, and this time has given me that opportunity to really listen to myself and go deep within myself to say, well, actually, why am I doing this? What are the reasons for that? And perhaps the reason I'm in the stage that I'm at now is because I didn't go through that process initially in terms of listening to myself and listening to kind of what was going on inside, and I was letting my head make the decision instead of my heart. So it's really an interesting question, because there's two aspects to it, and I think one probably leads on from the other.
Great, thanks, Ian. Cecile, how does Chit Chat feel about listening?
Oh, Chit Chat is finding it very hard to listen all the time, but I'm learning every day. I'm learning more, because yeah, I think I know I wasn't a great listener, but I'm learning. Yes, every day I'm learning a bit, so it's good to. That's why I put the phone away from me, so that I don't have the urge to talk all the time, because yeah, I tend to talk over people, finish their sentences for them. Maybe it's part of being a twin, but maybe it's just part of personality.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Kevin, welcome on board. I think it's your first session this morning. So you said you wanted to check us out and see whether we were behaving properly or not. So what are your first thoughts on the group?
Well, you've all proven you're a bunch of animals, so I don't know whether I'm going to come back tomorrow. Cecile, you do still talk over people, just in case anyone's interested. No, I'm also in a very bad habit of talking over people. So I've got into the habit of switching my mic off on purpose. So I have to force myself. If I want to say something, I've got to switch it on. And I think that has helped the etiquette a little bit.
Right, thanks, Kev. Guy.
Do that. Ivan, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, 2 days ago, 20 hours ago, I did a post on C19, how it has forced me to adapt. And if we didn't have C19, I wouldn't have adapted. So from there, I've taken a lot of positives. And one was when I'm at physical meetings, etc. I used to interrupt a lot because I don't like waffle. I like the bottom line. That's it. And on this platform, you have 30 seconds or a minute, because you've got to be considerate to other people. And that 30 seconds, very few people waffle in 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So yeah, bar C19 forcing me to do other things. At my silver fox age, I actually like this forum because I listen better. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Guy. And I think I'll pick up on one word that you used there, and I think it's a very important word, and that is considerate. And I think, you know, being able to listen well is a considerate behavior, and you know, it's something that's well appreciated. Herman, good morning. Would you like to add your thoughts in on the topic?
Good morning, everyone. I think what is critically important concerning listening, that there are various levels of listening, and that listening is actually an interpretive kind of activity. In other words, I don't see the world as the world is. I see the world as I am. And that applies to listening just as much as to seeing, because we do have our own interpretations. We do have a background. And as I said, we are listening at different levels. For example, there could be empathetic listening, which is very different to just kind of noticing the noise and the words that are coming out. Thanks.
Thanks, Herman. Jeffrey, good morning. Are you hearing us? Are you with us? Would you like to add your thoughts in? It's your first time, so welcome. I see you don't have video, but you do appear to have a microphone. So if you'd like to step in there and just say hi and then give us your thoughts. Jeffrey?
You are unmuted by host. Okay, so am I online? Okay, so that's how it works. Yeah, it's actually very, very interesting. I'm busy watching a television series at the moment. It's called Gaia, and it's hosted by a chap by the name of Greg Braden. And some of the things that he's actually been talking about, literally in the programs that I was watching last night, is this exact subject, the actual connection between the heart and the mind, and how that actually ultimately influences our lives. We've all heard of the expression, you know, what does your heart tell you? And it's actually really interesting, because from what they've actually discovered, or scientists have discovered, is the fact that the heart itself also has, I'm going to use the expression, brain cells in it. And the heart actually operates. That's where most of our real thought, our real intuition actually comes from. So yeah, that was quite interesting. And this picture of this little girl here sitting in a yoga position, it's actually quite lovely, Lee. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Jeffrey. So now I know which Jeffrey we're with. It's Jeffrey, the video man, who doesn't have a video. So, well,
yeah, no, yeah, my camera. I'm using an old desktop here, and I don't have a camera.
No problem, Jeffrey. Welcome on board. Cello, morning to you. Would you like to add your thoughts in?
Morning, everyone. What a beautiful subject. You know, ever since we started speaking, I think it was my first conversation with the group, and we spoke about language. Language, for me, the most important takeaway from language is listening. I think the best way to learn a new language, or when you are learning a new language, it forces you to listen. It forces you to stop that nasty little habit that we sometimes have, that when somebody else is talking, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say after they've done talking. So I'm not really listening. So if you want to get rid of those kinds of little notions, just learn a new language. And now we are talking about technology as a new language. We are talking about being on Zoom as a new language for us. It has forced us to listen. Again, it just forces you to pause a little bit and to process things and not to just jump the gun. And I really like the notion of speaking about it as intuition, as listening to your own heart, because it's impossible to listen to other people if you're not listening to yourself. I mean, for instance, to make it very practical, Guy said something very interesting yesterday. He said, guys, we need to be making something practical of this. We are now becoming comfortable. And I kept on listening, even when Guy was finished talking, even when the sessions were finished, when we think we are actually listening. And you do have to be present to what am I thinking as well? Am I present to my own thoughts and process? And, you know, it's a very fascinating subject for me. I can go on the whole day with this kind of subject. Let me just stop there for now.
Right, thanks, Trevor.
So I'd like to come in and say I listen through my own vested interest. And I don't know if everyone else does that. But every second of input that I'm getting in, especially around this technology, my mind is going around and around in circles. How can I apply it? How can I apply it? How can I apply it? But it's through my own vested interest. And I know that everyone is talking from their own vested interest. And these are convoluted messages, but I'm still interpreting them and I'm still filtering them through my own vested interest filter.
Thanks, Trev. Yeah, I think everybody, I think Herman touched on it as well. Everybody has their own perception of reality, their own perspective of what reality is, and those filters that we put in place lead us to interpret things completely differently from the guy standing next to us. And I think that's that's something that we need to try and remember when we're talking to other people, because their perception of what is being said or has been said or they're saying may be completely different to your interpretation or perception of it, purely based on where you are and where you're coming from. One of the statements I think I raised in an earlier session was, wisdom or people who are wise are silent, and people who are foolish make a noise. You can never learn anything while you're talking. You can only learn when you're listening, and I think that's what this is helping us do. So that's my little bit. Herman, I see you open again. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to take up what Trevor said and concerning vested interest. But we do have the consciousness to shift our vested interest. So we can change the level of listening from kind of automatic listening to an awareness-based kind of listening. And I think that is where the skill of listening really becomes important. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Trevor, go.
Okay, trying to adhere to the etiquette here and allow the host to point to me. And just to respond, I would ask Herman, well, why do you shift your vested interest? And I would suggest it is because you are shifting your vested interest. So I would still argue that is the dominant filter, but again, I'm arguing from my perspective.
Thanks, Trevor. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Lee.
Yeah, I think I'm going to move on. I just want to pause on this slide because I started with this whole idea of listening to your heart, and however you want to. I mean, Trevor's using the terminology of vested interest, and maybe that's sort of triggering stuff for us. But at the end of the day, it's still about you, isn't it? About how is this actually impacting you, and where are you coming from? And there are many things in life that will catch your eye, but only a few will catch your heart. Pursue those. And for me, this is about your unique, who you are as a unique person. And I think one of the things that we at Wisdoms emphasize over and over again is that everyone is unique. And what I love about that is that your uniqueness is your specific contribution. That if you don't own who you are as the unique person that you are, we're missing out in what it is that you can offer to the world. And so the more you are yourself, the more true you are to yourself, and are not being pulled and pushed by the crowd and by the herd, the more we can benefit from your unique thinking, speaking. And I always go back, one of my favorite programs, guys watching deep, wonderful stuff. I watch Snakes in the City. And the reason I do that is because I'm fascinated by these people that got tattoos from here to here and that absolutely love snakes. They tolerate humans and they accept that humans might be in danger because of snakes, but really they love snakes. And it's that finding, and I don't know that we all actually truly listen to what it is that we want and love out of life.
Great, thanks, Lee. Some interesting pointers in there. Anyone like to pick up on that one? Guy, go for it.
Yeah, Lee, it's everyone's got their own DNA, and everyone has a leader with a title, without a title, as Robin Sharma puts it. And in our own ways, we've got to express how we feel and listen when other people express how they position, etc. I.e., like Trevor this morning. But the listening here on Zoom, you're actually right close to the person, and you actually eyeballing them. Well, this is my perspective right here and now, and so you're listening better as opposed to sitting in a physical place where the presenter is 20 meters away or 30 meters away or whatever. So, yeah, you've got to catch those moments that are important to you.
Great, thanks, Guy. Ian, I saw you were also looking to comment.
No, just to let Lee know that I'm also a fan of Snakes in the City, because it's just the amount of courage that guy needs to catch a black mamba. I mean, how he does it, and as you say, Lee, the passion he has for snakes is just quite remarkable, and things that we all run away from, he just embraces. It's just actually quite fascinating. So I'm also a fan.
Great. Anybody else like to pick up on those thoughts or comments? I don't want to run through the list every single time. It becomes a little bit dogmatic. So I'd like it to flow a little bit. So if you are keen to make a comment, either open your mic or just stick your hand up, and that's your electronic hand, not your physical hand, and we can take it from there. Trello, you want to add in there?
Yes, I wanted to just add on what Trevor started saying about vested interest. And I realize now that it takes some courage to listen. I mean, for me to shift my vested interest, I had to join this group. Now I'm joining people that I don't really know, but it allows me to expand my own universe. It allows me to expand my own opinion. It allows me to grow. And the courage that it takes to do that, the courage to listen, the courage to pause, the courage to say, okay, I will learn this new technology way of yours. What is this Zoom? Than to shut it out, because I think we do have that other voice that we constantly need to, keep disciplining. That voice that then says, no, but technology is not for me. It's going to be for other people. It takes that courage to listen. That's all that I just wanted to add.
Right, thanks, Herman.
Well, what I think is important here, and Ivan, sorry, you're doing an excellent job, because very much the discipline we all have is also guided through your facilitation. And I think that's quite important. Thanks.
Great, thanks, I appreciate that. Muted myself there. Anybody else want to pick up on those comments, or shall we move on, Lee?
Yeah, I think the next couple of slides, we were focusing sort of listening to ourselves, and the next couple of slides are really about listening to others. We've already touched on that, but I did love this quote. I couldn't figure out, looked up who Harmon Okunyoyo is, but it seems like he's really just a social media guru. I say just, but I did like what he was saying here. And I think we've all sat in meetings where we have pretended to listen, and it's taken quite a lot of effort. And I guess it's just, what is the value of listening? I think this is really what the question is around here. We can pause here, or the next slide is also a quote from Ernest Hemingway. When people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen.
Yeah, Ian, go first.
Yeah, picking up on that, I mean, Trevor was talking about listening from his vested interest, But I think if you really, really want to listen to somebody, I think you have to put your vested interest to one side for a moment and start listening to other people's perspective. Whether you agree with it or not is immaterial, but the fact is you're not looking to step in with your opinion because of your own vested interests, but you're rather sitting and saying, right, I'm really going to listen to this person because maybe there's something in there that, as Sello says, increases my universe and my understanding, or changes the perspective or belief, because we just have beliefs, but they're not necessarily facts. So I think I agree, best interest with all what's in it for me, but I think if you really want to listen, you have to put those aside for a second to be able to really understand what other people are saying.
Great, thanks, Ian. Yeah, it's a difficult skill, I think, for people, because not only are you having to put a vested interest aside, you're also having to put your ego aside, because your ego also wants to jump in and say, well, I know the answer, or I've got a better opinion, or this is the way you should be doing it, and you've got to suspend all of those things to actually really listen and hear what somebody's saying. So yeah, I like that. Trev?
I think I just want to flip it a bit. And I think that what I'm saying is that if you as an individual understand that other people are listening through their own vested interest filters, you will actually convey messages that will get through those filters. I think that's the flip that I'm trying to put across here. If we understand, as I believe, most people are listening through their own vested interest filters, find a way to communicate with them through their vested interest filters is the point that I'm trying to make here.
Kevin, go for it.
Yeah, Trevor, to pick you up on that, the number of times people misinterpret other people's vested interest is frightening, because very often you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know where they're coming from. And as a result of that, you assume certain things about them, which in most cases are often wrong. And I've experienced that on many occasions. And I find it quite insulting when someone's trying to play me, which is, I think, what you're talking about.
I'm sure Trevor's got a response to that.
Yeah, certainly not what I'm talking about. I think what I'm then going a little bit further is that good communication is about asking questions, so that you get to understand who and what the other party is all about. So I think that's the underlier behind that. That good questions get good responses back, and then you start getting to understand other people's points of view and opinions.
Great, thanks, Trev. Okay, Guy, I think what we're going to do is we're going to just run one loop through the list again, because we're heading towards the bottom of the hour. So just look for a final wrap-up comment from everybody, and yeah, Guy, go for it.
I'll do a final comment. Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, you as salespeople, to actually understand what your client is thinking, you ask certain structured questions. Some of them may seem stupid questions, but they're questions for you to actually understand your client better, or your new prospect better, and quicker, and how to channel a certain conversation that will benefit them and yourself, etc., etc. So thanks once again.
Great, thanks, Guy. Cecile? Cecile, are you with us? There we go. Right. Okay, we seem to have temporarily lost Cecile. Herman?
Okay, there I am.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Well, so what I was saying is thanks. I was listening very attentively to everyone, and trying to not think of what I wanted to say next, because that's often what one wants to do, or not what. Yeah, you just your mind is racing and you are thinking of other things while someone is talking. So I'm learning to listen to each and every one of you individually.
Great. Thanks, Cecile. Herman, do you want to have a final comment there?
Thank you very much for another inspiring session.
Great. Thanks, Herman.
You
Ian?
know,
Sorry, Herman. Okay, carry on.
Sorry, I think the most important aspect of listening is not to listen in order to answer.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. Great, thanks, Herman. Ian?
Oh, no, thanks. I'm good. I enjoyed the conversation and I'm all good. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Jeffrey?
On. Yeah, there we go. Yes, yeah, it's actually also, I think, you know, kind of listening, I find, yes, I'm also kind of guilty of, like what Trevor says about sometimes your own agenda. But I think, you know, in many ways, it happens to a lot of us because we're always in such a rush with everything that we do, and we want to get to the bottom line, and we want to get your message across, listen to what the other person is and move on. Or I think that's possibly one of the reasons why we all do it, or so many of us actually do it, is that we're always in such a rush. And I think that's why we listen to answer. Yeah, that's my response.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Cello?
A lovely conversation, and thanks for the platform. Just a final quick word. I'm reminded of what Herman once said when he mentioned following people on social media that only say the things that you like hearing said. I think I'm just encouraging listening to also some stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable, some stuff that you're not used to hearing, some stuff that I think it will just expand you again to just put yourself out there and be bold enough to listen to things that you wouldn't normally listen to. I think that's just about it from me. Thanks, guys.
Right, thanks, Cello. Okay, Lee, I think that's probably everything. If you'd like to just wrap up comments, and then yeah, we'll end the session off there.
Did Trevor want to say something? Yeah.
Trevor never wants to say anything, so I wouldn't bother with Trevor. You know?
In fact, I just want to respond to Jeffrey's comment where he actually turned around and said, we're all guilty of doing this. I have no guilt of having my own agenda and my own vested interest. And because I rate that as the highest priority, I am then giving everyone the respect that they have their own vested interest, and hopefully that they communicate that to me so that we can align our agendas and work together. And that's how you work with people that have got differences, and that you work with people that have got like-minded. So I don't have guilt at all about having my own agenda and my own vested interest. In fact, I go out there and I lead with it up front with a right hook.
Well, thank you, because you know, Stella was saying that you know, challenge yourself to listen to something that's different, and I appreciate that Trevor does that for us. He flips the way that we think, and our sort of natural reaction is to push back, and then you actually have to listen and process it a little bit more, and just kind of let it sink in a bit. So I think that is, you know, when you're listening to difference or different opinion, it's that, again, you know, Ian talks about that moment between thought and action, and just that pause moment to say, well, what is actually the value of what is being said here? And that really is, that's how you expand your thinking, that's how you grow. And listening is an absolutely vital tool. And it actually swings back to the very, very first session that we ran, which was or close to the beginning, when we spoke about the importance of questions. And questions and listening go hand in hand. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciated your contributions again. You know, and I continue to invite people, and as you say, Stella, it takes courage, doesn't it? To even if it's to click on a link, you don't know what that link is going to happen, And if you're unfamiliar with the technology, there's that moment of fear, that moment where I'm worried I'm going to come across as a fool. And I do think there are people who are nervous about that. So we just got to keep encouraging and inviting, and we look forward to expanding the platform. And I will follow up usually with an email again, and we'll take another slot tomorrow.
Great, thanks, Lee. I see Trevor's just looking to try and get a snapshot of everyone. So, Lee, if you could just stop your screen sharing for a moment, and if everyone, except for Jeffrey, can put their videos on, we can get a group shot. Thanks, everyone. And while Trevor's trying to work out how to take a snapshot of the screen, just a thought for tomorrow. So, if everyone's going to listen tomorrow and nobody's going to talk, it should be an interesting session. So,
smile, please, for the photographer. I got you all.
Got us
Thank
all.
you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day, and I look forward to chatting tomorrow. Cheers, then.
Cheers. Goodbye.